First off, I just want to say welcome to Mount Tam Integration Jam 2022. These are fantastic ways of just learning about yourself and becoming educated around healing, the use of psychedelics, and many other different ceremonial uses. So what we're talking about today is clinical and ceremonial use of music combined with psychedelics to help with healing. We have a few different guests today. We have Hamilton Garces, who is a sound healer, who does breath work and is an energy practitioner, and had a really powerful experience with plant medicines. We also have LeiAmora, who is a sacred musician who uses sound, who is also a sound and energy healer, a medicine woman, if you will, a Reiki master, Kundalini yoga instructor. And she uses all of those things to kind of create a better world. And then we have Sienknecht, and he's a licensed clinical psychologist in private practice in San Francisco, and he's the co-founder of the Polaris Insight Center, which is a ketamine-assisted psychotherapy clinic and training center. So a little bit about myself too, just I'm a Students for a Sensible Drug Policy ambassador, a musician, and I advocate for mental health, drug, and bail reform. So before we begin, I just want to give each panelist a moment to try to give themselves a moment to just kind of explain the relationship to music, psychedelics, and healing. Does anyone want to go first per chance? How about Hamilton?
Sure. Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Hamilton Garces. I'm 30 years old, born and raised in New Jersey, and kind of always make a joke. If you would have told me 10 years ago when I was 20 what I do now, I kind of wouldn't believe you. I was a young Marine veteran at the time, and what I'm doing now as a yoga instructor, sound healer, energy worker is just tapping into that metaphysical energy, but also in the scientific purpose of stress reduction. And the biggest thing of how tapping into the space of breath and sound has helped me is kind of can remind myself of that first ceremony that I had, where I came out of it wishing I could have all these notes, but all I wrote was music is powerful. And from that, that's kind of what I left with, and understanding now that whether we're in the ceremonial setting or just in a yoga studio, learning that sound and breath is powerful enough to have a psychedelic experience without the psychedelics, if you will. So the beautiful thing is what I've learned as for my own self as a veteran is that maybe it's not everybody's place to have to go down to the jungle and go sit in the darkness, right? And what I learned from the medicine was that we are the medicine. And so that's why I love to deliver sound and breath to people, because it could be very therapeutic and less harm reduction, if you will, before we can move into the other higher levels, if you will. Because for me, I kind of just went to the top, and then I started learning all the Jedi stuff, if you will. But if we can kind of give people the proper tools, which is beautiful now, and what we see now is a psychedelic renaissance, right? We're seeing clinical research and studies showing that what shamans, sages, seers have been doing for hundreds of years with plants, and as well as the control of breath and sound, is that they're having beautiful healing space. So tapping into the theta brainwave, if we will, having that deep cellular rejuvenation and recovery. We're allowing people to become the true healer, because the true healer in the room is themselves.
Awesome. I think you're right. The only way you can make a change is through yourself. You can't rely on anything else but that. So how about Jazz?
Hi, everyone. My name is Jazz. I'm originally from Halifax, Nova Scotia. I saw somebody in there that said they were from Toronto, so what up, Canada? I currently live and reside in Santa Cruz and no longer have to be in winter, which is lovely. I began my psychedelic journeying when I was 15, which was a blessing and a curse because I still had to finish high school. But music has been a part of my life since I was very young. And once I turned 30, almost 10 years ago, I started doing plant medicine ceremonies in the ceremonial setting, not just recreational. And for the past 10 years, I've been helping to organize wisdom keepers from Brazil, Alcré from the Huni Queen, and the Ashaninkan tribes, and Santo Daime, to come and help organize ceremonies. And I'm so blessed that I get to be a part of that. I am in reverence to the process. I definitely do not take it lightly, this work, because the work is very delicate and there's so much nuance to it. For me, how I show up is I'm just here and of service and an open vessel and open channel to support in any way that I have been supported and just pay that forward. And for me, music, you'll be hearing her later. Music has been a very big part of my life in healing and being able to move through depression and anxiety and suicidal tendencies. And it's such a simple thing, even just humming is a powerful tool. But like you said, Hamilton, breath is a very powerful tool. So although these medicines in this Renaissance are available to everyone, which is really exciting in this time of awakening and revolution, there's also a lot of simplicity in the way that we can shift our states.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Jazz. Now, how about Eric?
Hi, everyone. My name is Eric Sienknecht. I'm a psychologist and co-founder of Polaris Insight Center, where I do clinical work with ketamine. We do ketamine sessions, treating depression, anxiety, trauma, individual and group sessions. We also do retreats and trainings. And I also am one of the study therapists and supervisor on the MAPS clinical trials for treating PTSD with MDMA. So I get to work with ketamine and MDMA for a living, which is amazing. And then I also get to make playlists and help curate people's experiences in the sessions. I never, like Hamilton, I didn't think I didn't see myself being here at all like 10 years ago. So feeling really grateful and also a responsibility to do it well and to learn how to, what works, what doesn't, do the research, use the clinical data to inform innovations, and look back on the past and look at our ancestors and the healers from, healers throughout the ages who have been doing this work already and have honed their skills and craft and have a lot to share with us. Yeah, I think I'll keep it there for now.
So, I know that we all have our unique ways, like we all have pretty unique ways of using psychedelics and music. It seems like we're all from very different backgrounds. And that's kind of cool to kind of, I thought something that we could kind of do is to kind of go into what could be some of the differences of like being in the clinical setting via being in more of like a shamanistic setting, and what would be some of the unique experiences that you might experience in each setting, or like what might be some differences? I don't know. Any thoughts? Because I can think of a few.
I'm going for it. I have never been in a clinical setting, so all I can speak for yet, maybe I'll hit Eric up, because I'm not too far away from you. But the thing that I like about the ceremonial setting is there's a comfort level there, especially if it's a smaller group where it's in an intimate space. For me, going to be one-on-one in like this room where I've never been there before, and I might not know the facilitator. It might be a little scary to me, but I love the idea of the one-on-one. Whereas in the ceremonial setting, it's just I think there's a lot of room for that organic flow of what happens from one person to another to open that space up together.
To kind of feed off of what Jazz was saying is same. I've never really been in a clinical setting. Regardless of where I've been in space or ceremony, kind of what Jazz is saying, it's the intimacy of like the group, kind of like the camaraderie, you know, of like a squad. But I've sat down and watched enough research and studies as well. Same thing like watching the Lamar Odin documentary with the ketamine practice. I was watching, and it's interesting because it seems like you can really sit and identify and kind of go and work as the therapists are there with you, kind of guiding, which is interesting. And I think in a ceremonial setting, like it's kind of like it's like gospel or church. It's like the music can really move you, and being together with the rattling and the singing and the drumming. Again, for me, in my own personal experience, my first ceremony, all I left was writing in a piece of paper. I wish I could just write more pages, but all I wrote was music was powerful. That's all I could write. And it's just like that's a beautiful thing, because it's like being in a powwow. You got to feel that drum. You got to see the fire in the altar, you know, and that's a beautiful thing. And I think both of them have their space and place for it. And I think it's both beautiful that people have the opportunities to reach out to do these things now, and in a safe setting now. You know, we're not in the late 60s where we're doing this in more in a research setting, but now we have the freedom. You know, the laws are opening up, decriminalization is happening in certain states. So this is a beautiful thing. The fear, what people had before to kind of drop, I think that's a beautiful thing now. We could do it in the group, or we could do it on the one-on-one approach in clinical. So I think it's a really great opportunity for people.
Yeah, and you know, a very small percentage of people who have taken psychedelics have actually been able to do it clinically. You know, where ketamine assisted psychotherapy is maybe like, you know, 7 to 10 years old. There were some early pioneers, but kind of modern version of it is very, very new and recent. And so, you know, most, you know, 99.9% of psychedelic experiences happen outside of the clinic. I was fortunate to be able to have a MDMA experience clinically through the NT1 study, which was giving MDMA to healthy volunteers. I also had MDMA outside of the clinical setting and in recreational settings. And the clinical experience was different in the sense that both of you are speaking to. Like, it's kind of like allows for more focus and less distraction. Really kind of helps you to hone in on your inner experience and to do some kind of more focused processing of what's coming up with, you know, skilled therapists. And so there's it's very therapeutic for a lot of people. And also in the same breath, you know, raves and parties and ceremonies are also obviously, like, clearly therapeutic for, you know, most of the people participating. And so I think it's just, there's different things to learn from different settings. And the appeal of the clinical setting is just more controlled, and there's less risk, essentially. I think in a more enlightened society, these substances would be researched and be available in clinics, but also maybe outside of clinics as well. But it's the so I'm just speaking to the value of having a kind of more controlled experience. And with the music and the clinical sessions, we don't use live music so much. I think that's one of the benefits of ceremonial work, and also, raves and recreational setting is you feel the music, you feel the vibration in your body. And but I will have to say that you can get pretty close to it using speakers and headphones, and synthesized recorded music, and so it's pretty much the same thing. I don't mean to say, there's something from live music that you can't get from recorded music, but it does a pretty good job of simulating, the recorded music simulates the live environment. And we also bring in ceremony and ritual and different techniques to help people to kind of enter into that, the meditative space more easily, enter into the trance state. So we have techniques that we use that are kind of time tested, and so you can do a lot with the clinical environment.
I'd like to.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah,
Can
ahead,
I just? I was like, oh, I want to say something. I love what you said, Eric, about especially the control aspect, because when people go to ceremonies, if it's your first time and you have no idea who this facilitator is, you have no idea if they're going to be an initiated, skilled facilitator, or if they're going to just be somebody that bought some medicine online, and that's really scary. So in that aspect, I really appreciate the clinical setting for people who are really wanting to hone in on some traumas or things that are going on with their health that are really hard to shake, that are really delicate to work with, and to be with skilled people like you. But on the other hand, like you said, one thing that I love about ceremony, especially being with the indigenous, is feeling the lineage that they carry with them through their chants, through their bloodline, through their voice, in a live setting.
So that's what I'm kind of hearing is you get to kind of you get two options. You have one setting where you have some control, but there is the human connection that you get from it that's could be seen as more genuine, I guess, for someone who's in a more ceremonial aspect. But then in the clinical setting, you kind of get to, I don't want to say eliminate, but you get to help someone through the set and setting dilemma that can sometimes present itself with psychedelic use. So I want to kind of ask everyone to see if just what individual projects that you might be kind of working on right now or whatever related to sound healing, because I think that's always kind of a cool thing to go into.
I'm is Hamilton gonna talk? Can I talk? I just finished making an album, so I'm really excited. I wrote it right after I came back from Peru and did a dieta in the jungle with Bobinsana, which is a really powerful plant teacher in helping you to heal the heart, and as well to create, to bring the creativity through. And some of them are medicine songs, and some of them are just songs that help me to integrate the lessons, which is one amazing thing that we're here for, talking about integration. And I'm also working with a lot of shamans that come up from Brazil, partnering up with Boa Foundation Aniwa for a beautiful gathering that's happening in California, where over 40 wisdom teachers and keepers are coming together to share, in a ceremonial sense, do sweats, do ceremonies, story tell, and just be together. So that's what I'm working on right now. And the album is coming out soon. Still working on getting it out, but you can expect it in, let's say, end of summer 2022.
For a few projects that I'm focusing on and doing with expanding on sound is that I used to do more yoga, but I'm now more into doing the sound because it's something that connects with people, you know, and just hopefully just what I'm doing now through the year is as a veteran, I work with a lot of nonprofits organizations. So flying out west to Vegas, June 11th, I'll be out there doing a few things with a nonprofit organization called Warriors for Life America, and this year hopefully working to get in a retreat to bring sound, breath, yoga. It's the same idea, sound, breath, and yoga. Just bringing these medicines, as I will, non-invasive medicines, right? Bringing in this to people, because if I could help people in a sober setting have that psychedelic experience without the psychedelics, those, you could say, non-believers almost become believers by having the inner understanding and the inner experience, right? So I only hope to just keep continuing to do that. I just keep saying I'm a young jaguar walking my path. You know, I'm still learning the ways. I just got into medicine, working into this, you know, when I was 25. You know, I'm 31 now. So by the grace of God, I just hope to keep learning and keep growing and keep going to where, you know, spirit keeps guiding me. Because like I said, if we all went back 10 years ago and figure out where we're at now, we would have never believed it. And something that I can understand is that spirit has a plan for us, you know, it keeps guiding us to the next thing. So I just keep hoping to keep growing and keep sharing and learning from more elders and more teachers.
Beautiful. My ongoing music project is creating playlists for sessions, and I use Spotify, and I just explore music and listen to a lot of music and find gems and collect and create playlists and test them out and tweak them. And, you know, it's just an ongoing project that I'll be doing hopefully the rest of my life. And so I'm a big music lover, and I listen to a lot of music. But I'm not a formal musician, but I feel like I'm a musician at heart because I love music so much. We're also doing retreats now through Polaris, and so we're training clinicians on how to use ketamine clinically, and people can come and actually have experience with the medicine, and we create playlists for that. And so that's exciting, and so I'm stepping into that. And we also have sound healers come to the retreat and play after a medicine session. And then writing a book on, excuse me, writing a chapter in a book on music and psychedelic psychotherapy. And that's exciting to be able to kind of formulate like how I'm using music, how people can think about it clinically. So yeah, that's will be published later this year.
Sorry about that. That's awesome. So you guys are all doing a lot of different work. It's kind of cool. Like we have someone who's literally using sound to simulate the experience of, you know, a psychedelic. Well, not simulate. It's the same thing. It's literally the same types of chemicals being released, right? So you're essentially tapping into it by not using a substance, by simply using your own self. And like, it's pretty interesting to think that these substances without us really are powerless, but when we consume them and go through these experiences, they become these healing substances. So I'm wondering, with being sensitive to people's privacy and things like that, like, are there any like really great, like, just cool experiences or something that you guys have had around watching people heal through using music and psychedelics?
You said during
Whoever.
music and psychedelics, right?
Yeah. Or
Okay.
even if it's just like you can even talk about your breath work and how that has like created people to have, a psychedelic experience.
Right. So something that I love, because I can always, people who are in the psychedelic experience can always say like about, oh, I saw the jaguar and I saw the dragon come out my heart and the wolf in the mountain. And that's all beautiful, but and it's expected because the chemicals, right? Where the body is stimulating, releasing endorphins, oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine. But before COVID got deep into the year, about the 6 months into 20, about 6, 7 months into 2020, I was working at a rehab. And out of everything that I did, out of all the work I've done, that was the most fulfilling work that I got to do on this planet. Because I walked away with the memories of people telling me what their trauma, whatever their trauma was and what they're recovering from, getting into that room, bringing the breath in a seated position, a little bit of sound, and 20 minutes of it, they're just like, you see people with the 10 shoulders up here to just relaxed, deeper breathing. You hear that ocean breathing in the room, longer, easeful breaths. So like to hear people's experience say, for the first time in my life, I finally quieted my mind. Like everything became silent and it became still. And people said like, did I smoke something? Did I feel high? And I'm like, well, scientifically, right? What do we all understand is we can release that methotriptamine, right? If it's such a bad substance and such a it's a Schedule 1 substance. If everyone's holding, we all should be locked up, right? Every plant, every animal, every being, we secrete it, we create it, but we're unaware of it. So when breath and sound comes into that room, it's a beautiful experience. And people have told me they felt the whole body vibrating. They felt things moving in them that they never felt, especially when the didgeridoo and the drum comes near you, that can really move somatic energy for people. And it's very powerful. And repetition, some songs and percussion creates that brain waves. So we're tapping into the theta brainwave, the delta brainwave, getting into that deep REM cycle for people. So for some folks who've never hit that REM cycle or never really hit true relaxation, doing some breath and sound gets them to that easeful and peaceful place.
Yeah, I agree with you, Hamilton. That nervous system just, you know, um, I do a weekly sound bath and some retreats in Santa Cruz and Bay Area. And initially going into it, coming from a Kundalini yoga background where it's very intense and militant, and you have to do these very rigorous poses for long periods of time, which is very powerful. I love how music has the ability to just activate that sense, and let everything else quiet down. The mind just quiets down, like you said. And in the ceremonial setting, I find that there's a lot of ceremonies that I'm a part of where the facilitators are male. And coming in with my harp, as a woman, and bringing that like nurturing, calming sense in. It's been such an honor to be able to help to guide people in that way and to open myself as a channel, and to just be not me, but just in service, like I said earlier. And that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to make this album. Obviously, it's definitely a deep life purpose for me to serve, but in the way of music, everyone's like, where's that song? How can I find your music? Because I'm sure, Eric, people have wanted the playlist from you afterwards, you know, because they really want to, the songs that you hear in ceremony or in a sound bath or in a moment when you had an awakening or a shift, that can be a little bit of a marker for the person to remember. Because with integration, you know, sometimes it's like a dream. We have these powerful experiences and then life topples on us again. And then we hear that song and then it brings us back and helps us to remember, like, oh yeah, I'm super next level. I'm a Jedi, just like Hamilton. And I'm awakening. I'm an ascended master. And I'm part of this revolution and I almost forgot. So that's what I love about music is that. And then when people come back to the ceremonies that I'm a part of and they hear those songs again, then it just like exponentially snowballs into this like, you know. So that's my favorite thing about serving in the ceremonial setting.
Jazz, beautifully said, and that point of kind of marking the powerful track or song that you hear that's like played at a certain time in the experience that really moves and shifts things or deepens things or just moves you emotionally or brings you to catharsis or and it's so important to actually like for each individual, and it's different for each individual because the psychedelic experience is so personal. Music is so personal. And so it's going to vary between individuals, but like I always kind of coach my clients, like I'm going to be playing a lot of music during the session. And like, if you like a song, if you're feeling like particularly moved by a song, just let me know and we'll kind of come up with the different agreements, how to do that. But essentially, you know, I'm kind of writing down and like tracking the songs that really do it for that person, and then I'll kind of send it to them afterward, and I'll send them the playlist. But I'll say, but these songs in particular are like your power songs or your ikaros. You know, these are the ones that really do it for you. They unlock they have a unique key to your unique lock, and they open it. And so listen to them, you know, and so people really take that to heart, and like even if they're not musically inclined or they don't listen to music, they'll be able to use these tracks to like remember the journey experience and reconnect with it. And even like Hamilton's saying, without the medicine, the right track can be so powerful in helping to alter our consciousness. And so so that's one kind of clinical tip, I guess, that has been really helpful for my clients. And Hamilton and Jazz, you're both speaking to different functions in music, getting out of the head, coming into the heart and into the body, clearing the mind, soothing the nervous system. And I just want to bring in some research from Mendel Kaelin, who is a researcher at UK Imperial College London, and he's done some of the most. There's not a lot of music and psychedelic research out there, but he's done probably the most of any contemporary researcher, and he kind of delineates 4 functions of music and psychedelic sessions: support for being able to move through the experience, whether it's euphoric and heart opening or challenging and scary. The music is this kind of carrier wave that kind of carries us through it and supports us. And then there's music helps us to access emotions more effectively than words. You know, it's this nonverbal technology that we're using to help kind of bypass the logical mind and connect more directly and efficiently with emotions. And then that leads to catharsis and grieving and all sorts of different, emotional processes. And then music can help us to access our imagination more easily and to kind of unlock that capacity. And you hear in like ceremonies with plant medicines, the shamans talk about the song actually being like this kind of like basically kind of the song kind of like plays, the song kind of like the imagining and the visions are kind of structured or guided by the song. So the song is actually like a tool for like envisioning. And that comes into play therapeutically. People are able to have these like visions and reconnect with old memories, and that are then have a lot of meaning, and they can you can relive old traumas, you can access memories, good memories that you've forgotten. And so anyway, that it helps to engage and activate the imagination. And then the final function is that music allows us to more readily access altered states of consciousness. First through kind of connecting with a more meditative state, and then kind of acting as a bridge into non-ordinary states, mystical experience, out-of-body experience, and various other altered states. So, and I'll say one more thing about what just a clinical observation that just to go back to the supportive function of music, one thing that I've seen and over time that I'm realizing is maybe the most valuable in my mind function of music is to help people to stay present with the shadow material that arises in the sessions, their fears, their shame, their doubt, their trauma, reliving trauma, dark imagery, dark heavy experiences. There's some greater window of tolerance that allows for people to, with the medicine as well as with the music, helps people to kind of just tolerate and be with and stay present to scary things instead of kind of their normal way of managing that or defending against it. So they're able to kind of like be with it. And as they do that, almost like from this witness consciousness, they're watching this, sometimes it's their greatest fear, like dying or losing your mind, but, and the first time that happens, it's very dramatic and very scary, and it feels like, you're never coming back. But as people continue to experience and have these experiences, they learn that they can actually be with it and stay curious about it. And then it's like, I don't mean to sound too dramatic here, but it's like the shadows that were once there kind of start to disappear, or it's like the shadows become integrated into the self, and then they're no longer things to be afraid of, and people can hang out in their own mind and feel safe and be curious, and just there's a deepening and expansion of the inner world that I think is if I can help someone to feel more at peace and at ease with their inner world, then I feel like I've done my job. And it's really, music is the main tool for that. And music and psychedelics is an amazing synergy that ancient technology that we're now able to use clinically. So yeah.
Jeanette had something really cool to say, and I just wanted to add to what you were talking about, Eric. Thank you for dropping all this awesome knowledge on us. With different shamans that I've worked with, they'll do different songs like in the beginning to shape the journey. In the beginning, having some kind of invocation or setting of the space, and then working with different elements, or invoking different orishas, gods or goddesses, or arcanas or ikaros. I just wanted to bring that in there because I think what you were meaning to say was that like these sonic antidotes or alchemies are alive, and those two components of the psychedelics, changing your chemistry, and then your chemistry, and then this sound that comes in, and they all just synergistically work together, which is so beautiful. And I love your dog in the background, by the way. That's all I had to say.
That's awesome. Well, it looks like we're coming up on our hour, but we see we have some questions in our Q&A. I think we should probably answer these. What do you guys think? I think so. All right, so we have one from anonymous attendee. So I believe this one's for Eric, and it was talking about some of your tried and tested techniques that you were speaking of that were able to like help people better drop into their psychedelic experience.
Yeah, thanks for the question. One of the things, well, so this is, I'm a little embarrassed to say that I have not used this tool as much as I feel like I should have, but so I'm new to it, but it's turning out to be a very important tool, which is kind of along what Hamilton was saying about using just the power of music to help people to access non-ordinary states without medicine. In the preparation sessions, preparing for the journey, one good technique is to actually kind of give them homework when you get home, when you're in the right place and you can really kind of go within. Put on the eye shades, lay down, put on a playlist, and just spend the next hour listening to music and make the music your primary focus, and try not to have any distractions, and just make it like a meditation and see what comes up and stay curious about it. And so you're kind of setting up this practice session for the medicine session. And not everyone's going to take to that, but some people will, and that's one of the best ways to prepare for a journey, I think, and also to just start to like get a better sense of your taste in music and what you like to listen to. It sounds simplistic, but yeah, I feel like we're also, as musicians and healers, we're also kind of like reminding people that they have a personal relationship with music, even if they don't think they do. Because like, check it out, spend some time with music, and you will be moved in one way or the other, and you'll find the tracks that do it for you. And so, I'm not sure if I answered the question, but that's what came up in response.
If anyone else has anything to say, because I know you guys have some methods of your own, I'm sure too, that you've used. So go ahead.
I kind of want to say something off of what Eric was saying, and he finished off with what I could think about is like, whether you're in church or you're at your favorite concert, or you hear like that certain thing that just makes the hairs on your body stand up, like getting that Holy Spirit, if you will, you know, like your body really felt that, like you really felt the power of that sentence, that word, that verse, whatever that is that moves you, that's your meditation. Like that's your medicine. That's what's going to ignite your spirit and your soul. So like, for people ask me, like, even, I don't know what some folks think I do if I sit there and I meditate in silence and on some type of mountain, but honestly, my biggest thing is dancing and the songs that can move my spirit. So for me, it's that, and that could get my hair standing, that can make me even cry and release something emotional that is unconscious. So whatever those things is that can move your spirit, that's your music.
How about you, Jazz? Any cool little tidbits over in your neck of the woods?
I agree with Eric and Hamilton. um, yeah, being on Spotify is definitely very handy because as soon as you find one song that you really like, then you can just hit make a radio station out of that, and then all of these other songs come out of nowhere. It's just exploring, Um, but I think it's really nice to use instrumental music as well, going from like the handpan to classical. I think that it really does something for your brain, or harps. So I don't have much to say. I just totally echo everything Eric and Hamilton are saying. Thanks, though.
I guess the last thing I say is like my methods of what I like, because some people are like, oh, the singing bowls. Like I love the handpan, I love the singing bowls, but for me, it's the drum, it's the didgeridoo, it's the conch, blowing the conch, it's the voice and using animal sounds, which can take people to the primitive stuff. Does that make sense? Like that, but it's very primitive. It's very indigenous in all us. Because before our religion was, all our ancestors in the four corners of this earth sat around the fire underneath the moon and the stars, and that just wakes something and moves something in people. So like that percussion, that moves that spirit, can really awaken the water in your body.
I
You
just
know,
have one more thing to.
Movement.
Oh,
Oh, go ahead, Eric. Sorry.
go
go
ahead,
ahead,
Eric.
Jess.
Oh, okay. Um, so I've been doing this one thing with my students recently that Jonathan Goldman has been really big about. He's a really big advocate for sound healing and really brought it to North America in a new way. And one thing that he is exploring and advocating for is humming, and just doing a meditation for 10 minutes of just you, eyes closed in a comfortable position, just humming, and it alters your state very quickly. It's something that all of us can do because sometimes when you do want to participate in your own sonic journey, you get in your head about like, am I doing this correctly? Did I pick the right songs? Am I saying that mantra correctly? Like all you can get in your head about things, but just set your timer. You can look him up, Jonathan Goldman on YouTube, and you can just close your eyes, inhale through your nose. And I invite all of you to try that. Or even if you're in a hard place in your psychedelic journey and you just went for a heroic journey in your bedroom, just start humming and you're going to be feeling better in no time. It moves a lot.
I'll just add that the instruments that you were referring to, Hamilton, and then the humming as well. I think that the musical term for that is like overtone based. Y'all would know better than me, but I think it's like overtone based music. And there was a study that was done comparing overtone music with classical music for psychedelic sessions. And they found, it was with psilocybin, and they found that people actually reported higher rate of mystical experience with overtone-based playlists, and a slight preference for that over the classical, which kind of challenges this kind of more traditional kind of belief in the field that classical music is best for psychedelic journeys. And I think we don't know, but there's something about the overtone bass um, the overtone based playlists that really do something that powerful for people that maybe you can't quite get from classical. So yeah, it's just, we're finding out we need more research to kind of, and of course, at the end of the day, musical taste is subjective, and what moves you is very unique to you. And so, but yeah, there's also a science there. We can figure out more effective ways of helping people to connect with higher vibrations. And um,
I just want to close or finish that one thing with at this whole time. I'm like, what are the words? What are the little fancy words of terms? We're activating ourselves from a sympathetic activation when we're really alert, right? Because this is the primitive and primal things in us. Like it's the animal in us, right? We're in the sympathetic alert system, which is the fight or flight. And only time we know that is when there's real danger. So when we take these medicines or we do the breath work, we feel the sound, we're activated. But when we know that we're safe, when we know keyword space, safe, predictable, and controlled environment, we allow for a proper, safe, and predictable, controlled inner experience where there's the love, right? So we're going to the parasympathetic state. The humming, like Jas is saying, we're activating and toning. We're activating the parasympathetic system, but we're toning the vagus nerve. So the more we can understand how can we reduce our sympathetic energies and go into the parasympathetic, how can we learn to build a stronger relationship with our vagus nerve? Because if y'all could go online and look up how polar bear releases stress or trauma, you would see a video of a polar bear going through, which is natural. After a traumatic experience, you're going to go through shock. And animals only know what to do one thing, release it. Because if it didn't kill you, literally only made them stronger. So they go through their breath work, they go through that activated shock stress, and then they start slowing the breathing down by activating that diaphragm. So in the end of the day, like the truest teacher in the room is the breath. The Latin word to breathe is spiritus, Spanish is spiritu, English spirit. So when we can activate the breath, we can get closer to our spirit, we relax the system.
Yeah, there's actually a cool therapy modality about that too, which is called biofeedback. And you can actually like control your temperature in your hands. You can slow down your breathing. You could lower your blood pressure. It's pretty cool.
Ice
So I'm
baths.
gonna go, yeah. So I'm gonna go back to the questions here. So this is kind of a cool one. So what's your experience with silence as a selected musical ceremony? So no music, just silence. Have you guys ever experienced that or been a part of a ceremony like that? I feel like it would be, I don't know. I don't know a lot of ceremonies that don't have music, but that's just me.
When one of the facilitators I work with, and as well, the Shipibo shaman that I was working with in Peru, in the beginning, when you take your first cup with the grandmother medicine, they'll have a concentration or just a silence so that you can get in touch with what your intentions are and just let it the uptake happen and the synergy of the chemistry of the medicine and your body. And it's really powerful because silence, after a sound bath, Hamilton, like you give them silence, and sometimes the silence is so loud, and that's where a lot of the changes or the shifts in your energy, your body, or your mind are happening. So I think that there's a lot of power in silence and knowing in ceremony when to have silence, like especially if somebody sings a song or ikaros or has some kind of transmission, to allow for silence for that to just settle and to give a tiny little break, because it's very stimulating to have sound just like all the way through a ceremony. But then, when somebody comes, the shaman comes in, they start doing their arcanas or their invocations, and then all of a sudden it's just like, woo, okay, the lights are on. So it's nice to have that contrast in ceremony.
I think just like what Jess is saying, silence is powerful. Whether we're bringing sound into the room or you're sitting with yourself and the eighth of mushrooms in the dark room, the beautiful thing is like in that sober setting, when you bring sound, it's just great. But in a ceremonial setting, even when they first administered it, you get that space of silence, and maybe a half hour or an hour, which allows like that movement, that like say it's a mushroom serum, the mycelium is activating through the nerves, right? It's building a relation, deepening. And then when that music starts to move, it's like, wow, like you went from this moment of silence into this moment of the colors went on. But then even after the music and the activation, when the sound does come into that moment, giving people that space of silence, it's beautiful. It's a very wonderful thing. And from an experience of even just sitting with self, I mean, Jazz might laugh at this because, you know, maybe the songs come in sometimes. Like they just start singing in the back right there. And you're like looking around like, I didn't put music in here, did I? I'm like, okay, all right, just feel what the music is, feel what the medicine is singing to you. You know, the earth has something to say, so we can listen when we silence.
Just add quickly, yeah, totally feeling all of that. And I think there's just from another perspective, it's if the you know, if the playlist doesn't have enough of a kind of thread that it's following through the session, and there's not like melody, I think, is important. And if it's just sounds, it can be too ambient. And yeah, so there needs to be a balance. I'm just kind of saying what you both said in a different way, but there really needs to be a balance in my experience with the ambient sounds, and then something that you can follow as a listener, that kind of carries you through the experience, some kind of flow. And so, yeah, and there's more to say on that, but I know we have other questions. So.
All right. So here's another question. This one's a little longer. So I have a theory through personal experience that MDMA and music have powerful ties. I feel as though I can listen to certain songs while under the influence, and when I hear them many years later, I receive a serotonin release. This theory revolves around the idea that MDMA-assisted therapy, the therapist could use music in the session to essentially program a song with the client that they could later turn to when they need a boost. Any insight on the subject, or know of anyone using the method in their practice?
Well, you just said it so well in what you just said. I don't know if there's much more to say. It's exactly what in my mind, that's what we're doing. They're coupling the music with the experience, and then they can use that as a bridge later. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. And I appreciate the question.
I kind of think of so if y'all ever heard about the book The Body Keeps a Score. So like in the sense like your body remembers trauma, right? So what Eric is doing for people in this beautiful MDMA setting, right? Or even when I have experienced MDMA in the festival setting, that certain song and that certain moment takes me to that happy place. Well, your body keeps a score of those beautiful moments, you know, whether it was positive or negative experience, it was a blessing because it was a lesson, you know? And I'm one to say, like, I don't really believe in negative experiences or bad trips. Like whatever was there, like that was something I needed to observe or to witness, to just, you know, be one to just witness that. So I think, yeah, it's coming to that sense of like, you're doing something amazing for that individual with that setting.
And I always like to be real when we talk about these things, because these substances, you know, sometimes if they're used out of context, they can have some, you know, side effects that aren't as what you're looking for. And there's a question specifically around ketamine and, the potential for abuse. Talking about how it's kind of common in the festival community, like, but they're saying they see the benefit, but they're having trouble kind of understanding like that, like if someone becomes using it more regularly or becomes addicted, how would you deal with that situation?
Yeah, it's a great question. It comes up a lot. Ketamine is more psychologically addictive than psychedelics, other psychedelics. And but I guess I would say that we don't really see much, surprisingly little addiction in our client population. And we think has a lot to do with the consciousness that we're bringing to the work, the emphasis on preparation, set and setting, integration. It's a whole process, and it takes a lot of energy and commitment from people, and they learn to use the medicine in a particular way. And they go within, they use the eye shades, they use the music, and they have these kind of deeper experiences. And I think ketamine, the way to use ketamine, don't mean to sound too religious here, but is lying on the bed, dark environment, stillness, ambient music with some rhythm and melody, but slower playlist than you would use for MDMA, and put on the eye shades and check it out. And that's really kind of the secret that I think those initiated probably know about. You can do it at the festival, and yeah, it can help with dancing, it can lower inhibitions, it can enhance how music sounds, and it's not bad. But yeah, there's I think there's a more optimal way of really understanding what this medicine really has to offer, and it's really in private and in kind of low. And so the clinical setting is really a great place to have that experience.
Does anyone else have anything to say on that? Because if not, I have some insight a little bit too, because I've done a lot of work with substance misuse and various inpatient facilities, and I've seen a lot of different reasons for why people, use something more than they should. And a lot of times it has to do with an inability of really understanding themselves, how they relate to their environment, how they relate to their family, their friends, so it's not even just necessarily ketamine that you can be addicted to. There's tons of different things. And there's like process addictions, like gambling, food. There's a lot of reasons that people become addicted to something. A lot of times it has to do with relieving that symptom. So when I think of ketamine, and when I think of this question, I think of it as if it was any addiction at that point. Like it's not necessarily the drug, it's the underlying behavior that leads to using that substance. So my recommendation, for this question to answer, is just simply to kind of, if you're struggling with someone who has any kind of addiction issue, just to try to be supportive, non-judgmental, and try to get them to see a counselor or something of that nature, so that way they can get some support if they need to, especially if the use becomes dangerous. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that. I think that answers the question at least somewhat. Let's see, I think we got one more. So is there a current music theory directly related to psychedelics? What do you base your playlist selections upon? In my experience, ceremonial space and music creates a totally different type of voyage than listening on headphones to the John Hopkins playlist, which seems, quotations, old school Western Christian and not personal. So it sounds like the issue of having a personal experience as opposed to a clinical experience?
I'm not quite sure of the question there. I think I was
I think
tracking
that's-
it, but
Yeah, there's a lot. So we'll say the first one. So is there current music theory directly related to psychedelics? It's developing, right?
it's developing. We're developing it like as we go and as we kind of share information and you know, Mindel Kalin's a good person to look at. But you know, just from my own clinical experience, if you're sitting down to make a playlist, you want it to tell a story. There's a beginning, a middle, and end. There are these distinct, not distinct, but there are these general phases. There's a building of the medicine effects intensity to a peak, and then there's a tail. And then there's a return or descent, and then a landing back. And that arc looks different for different medicines. You have to know your medicine. For example, ketamine peaks very early and then it has a long tail within about 15 to 30 minutes. And MDMA, psilocybin, peak at like 2.5 hours after taking. So, and it's a different arc. And so, yeah, you want to know the medicine you're working with, the dose response curve of that medicine, and then I would say use tracks that you know as the therapist, or you know. So for me, it's important to have to know the songs, use songs that I know, and use songs that I like, and then to have plenty of tracks to use, so you have more music than you need, other playlists you can shift to if needed. The music should be ideally unfamiliar to the patient, so they don't have to like prematurely orient to, oh yeah, I know that song, I have these associations, and it takes you out of the experience. If it's completely unfamiliar, then the novelty of the music enhances the novelty of the experience. And I limit vocal tracks to the end phase of the journey, because particularly if it's in the native tongue of the client, can bring them out of the experience. So anyway, those are a few tips, and there's more to say, but I think to answer your question, we're still working it out, and we're still figuring it out. I don't know if y'all, Jazz or Hamilton, y'all have anything to add there.
When I think about the question, let me look at it again. What is the current music theory? Well, I feel like I can't like quote unquote show you the link and bring all the research up, but like there's just been enough research and studies that I just keep walking up onto when we fall to this very basic term of shaman, right? Because that term is very loosely used, but it's mainstream enough to understand, like it's the guy with the drum and the thing, and it's taking you to the altered space and state. But like the drumming, it's again to like that percussion, those overtones, like the drumming, like this drumming is showing like it's mimicking what? Well, when the mind is very active in the beta or alpha brainwave, like very active, very just, it's like you're driving and you're just very spaced out. Like how did you get from A to B? But if you're hearing the do 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 do, it brings the heart. So what do we start creating? Resonance, right? So like a drumming, I feel like there's enough studies behind how it shows that, like, if it's not enough, witness a person who is deaf sit next to a powwow drum and tell me you're not going to start watching that human being start resonating with that drum and start bumping to it and tapping their foot to it. Why? Because yeah, we can lose our hearing, but your body has resonance. Your body's 80% to 70% water, just like the planet. It feels the vibrations. We resonate and feel it in our spirit. So like that resonation, drumming, like there's enough things behind that.
You were also talking about the didgeridoo earlier, guys, and with the overtones. But a friend of mine was talking to me about the didgeridoo and how it's the oldest instrument on the planet, and that before we had language, there was the didgeridoo, and that was the way that people communicated with one another. So I think I mean, I know that the research is coming out, but there's a reason why people feel so moved by the didgeridoo when it's played, or the drum, because those are some of the earliest. And also the harp. The harp is in almost every culture because they've realized that when they plucked the tension of the string on their bow and arrow, that it made a sound. That's how the harp was created. So I feel that's the beauty of some of the where these instruments come from and how they have come into the ceremonial space or been in the ceremonial space since the beginning, why they have so much potency. Because it touches something, deep within us. Because when we're experiencing things, it's not just us experiencing them, it's quantum, it's all of our ancestors and all of our children to come, so it's very powerful.
Fantastic.
Aho.
All right. Well, we're kind of at a crossroads. We kind of grazed over most of the questions, I would say. I know that when Eric answered the last one, he touched a lot on how to build a playlist and things like that. So I'm going to say that it's time that we transition a little bit and start listening to a little bit of music, end this thing with a bang. Well, maybe a whisper.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, I'm going to spotlight you.
Okay. So this is a song that is on my upcoming album called Om Pachamama, and it's called I Found My Soul. I found my soul in a vision from my mother, said the vision from my mother. I found my soul in a vision from my father, said the vision from my father. I no longer do I wonder, lost where I can't see. You help to set me free. Now my arms are open, heart is open wide. No longer can I hide from the life I've chosen. I found my soul in a vision from my mother, said the vision from my mother. I found my soul in a vision from my father, said the vision from my father. I light me up, we're golden, no longer are we broken, floating, and I'm flowing in the motion of this ocean. I took the secret potion, it opened up an ocean. Come, we have awoken to the beauty of this moment. I found my soul in a vision from my mother, said the vision from my mother. I found my soul in a vision from my father, said the vision from my father. I running through fears, I'm coming in first. Stretch the heavy existential thirst. Pinch me now, 'cause I'm about to burst. Birthing in a new day, and and I'm coming in head first. I nine 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 I've had a lot of mountains that I've had to traverse. Universal interventions may have been coerced. Explosion in my mind traveled and dispersed, revealed a hidden gem. I gotta love myself first. Yeah, 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 I found my soul in a vision. Vision from my mother, said the vision from my mother. I found my soul in a vision. Vision from my father, said the vision from my father.
And the crowd goes wild.
So that is an integration song, or like at the end of a journey or the end of a ceremony. That's when I would play that. Something to just like wrap it up. A little takeaway to understand. It's a lot, you know, to have a psychedelic journey and try to understand what happened and how you can bring it into your life. So that was something that helped me integrate. And I think it might help a couple other people integrate. Did you want me to play one more? Maybe? Okay. Because this one's a song about a butterfly. And that's what we're aiming for. Oh, thanks, Rebecca. Oh, you guys want to hear the album? It's coming so soon. Very, very soon. So I have this instrument right here. I'm sure many of you have heard this before. It's a kalimba. So this song is called Butterfly. Fly, little butterfly, and don't you quit. I know it won't be easy, but you'll get the hang of it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So go on, little butterfly, flap those wings. Go on, fly higher, higher, higher. Oh, 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 yeah. I know you've been living your life a little caterpillar down on the ground and foraging for all you found and whoa, something hits you upside the and the evolution takes you beyond your little size, your dimension. Hardly could I begin to mention the great purpose that you bring to this world, and I see some things you don't know could become true in you, in you. Hey, hey, oh, oh, yeah, oh. So go on, little butterfly, and don't you quit. I know it won't be easy, but you'll get the hang of it. Yeah. Go on, little butterfly, and don't you fear. Trust in your journey, and it will all become clear. Yeah. But fly, oh little butterfly, fly. But fly, oh little butterfly, fly. Oh, I got you, little butterfly for life.
Thank you so much, Jazz. That was phenomenal. Phenomenal. It's awesome. So everyone's
the name of
asking
the
what's the
album is
name of
Om
the album.
Pachamama. Yeah, Om Pachamama, because there's a song. Many of these songs came during being in the thick of a very psychedelic experience. And one of them is Om Pachamama, oh Om Pachamama, ah. Om Pachamama, ah, oh Om. So Om Pachamama is the album. They have all the links. I'm on Instagram. LeiAmora is the best way to look for me. And I have a website. And that Butterfly song is on Spotify. It's the first single with a music video on YouTube. It's on my channel. And all the things are there. I just wanted to say that I'm so thankful for Mount Tam and for you, Jake, having us here together and the other people on the panel. It was so wonderful to meet you all and connect.
Yeah, I'm very thankful for everyone that was able to participate today. Everyone that came in the chat was chatting it up. Sorry if we didn't get to all your questions. But I just want to say again, thank you to all the panelists that were able to sit down with me. And this has been a work in the process for a year and a half. And it's just amazing to see all of this kind of come together and to do so in a way that was so natural. So I just want to thank everybody for being here. And I want to thank Tam and Tam for, being able to create such a magnificent just opportunity for us to all learn from each other and to hold space for each other. So I just want to again to say thank you everyone for joining us, and I hope everyone had a good time and learned a little something, maybe even learned something about yourself. And come join us or not us, but join the rest of the panel or the rest of the people that are going for Saturday and Sunday. Get your tickets. We still have those 10% discounts, I believe. So, take advantage. There's lots more cool content out there, coming from Mount Tam. So, all right. With that being said, yeah, That's what I'm saying, little spirit fingers. All right, everybody. Have a fantastic evening. Love and peace to everybody.